Hey all my people, how you doing? I hope you're having a damn good day. Welcome back. Part 1 of Season 3 is about to get underway and we are signing a new contract, but not
A
with
warm
Blackburn
welcome to you
Rovers.
all.
We are
Without
moving on
further delay, we are
to
pleased to
Everton.
introduce
Very
the new
exciting
manager.
times lay ahead. Very excited to see how this team does. Here we go. On to bigger and better things. Everton, Merseyside. We will be going up against Liverpool sooner or later, and I look very, very forward to it. But I just felt at the end of last season, the way it ended, I mean, losing out, I think it was to City on such a narrow margin. Of course, we got into the Champions League with Blackburn Rovers. I felt like it was time to maybe progress as a manager and move on to a slightly bigger club in Everton. And I think it was the right time to move on. We've left Blackburn Rovers in a much better place than what we found them, and I think that they will pretty much be safe for the foreseeable future throughout this career mode nonetheless. But going through the Everton team, I'm very excited for some of these players. Jude Bellingham was a big reason why I decided to take this job because I'm such a big fan of him in general. I mean, there are rumors that he could be going to Liverpool next season, in real life, of course. But in this career mode, Everton already had him, and I was very excited to see what we could do with such a great young talent like that. Of course, there are a few other players that I'm very interested in as well, the likes of Damari Gray, of course, Ritsu Doan, of course, brought in from PSV. So yeah, just looking very forward to this team as a whole. Højbjerg as well is going to be a very big time player for us, very much a big time player for us. And of course, with the good comes the bad, and we will be looking to potentially ship some players off, the likes of Dele Alli, Salomon Rondon, of course, João Pedro, and so on. Just players that don't fit the way that I want this team to play, and players that I think are more or less excess to requirements. I mean, we do have a fairly big budget as it is with Everton, so money isn't going to be the be all and end all for us. Like I say, we have enough money, and we have more or less a team here that I'm very excited for. But nonetheless, there are a few players that I will be looking to potentially ship out, and Dele Alli is definitely going to be one of them. I cannot stand him, unfortunately. I mean, he has left Everton in real life. He went to, I think it was Besiktas in Turkey, so good for him. Hopefully he can progress his career a little bit more and move on from what has been a tumultuous last 3 or 4 years in England. So good for him. Move on, get on with life, and move on, essentially. But just going over some of the team tactics and so on, we're going to be playing a 4-1-4-1, more or less, with our wingers playing slightly forward, so you won't have them dropping so deep. And I think we more or less have the players that we need, barring 1 or 2 new signings, to make this a very successful formation for us. Now, a player that I wanted to potentially sign as a free agent, which is Hattabor, for Blackburn Rovers, I decided to sign him for Everton, and I think he's going to be a crucial part of our first team. Of course, our right back area is not looking the healthiest, and I think picking up a 29-year-old who did incredibly well and has done incredibly well for Atalanta on a free, I think that is great business, and business that just cannot simply be ignored. So we're trying to sign him. We have a few others. I mean, Adam Idar could be a potential big one for us, as Dominic Calvert-Lewin is very injury prone, and I think Adam Idar is not good enough to always start ahead of DCL, but at the same time, I know he said DLC, but at the same time, I think he is good enough to potentially play the cup games, potentially come on as a substitute in impact games. So the players that we do end up going for are not money based at all, but they're more, do they suit the team style? And I think the players like Hattabor are going to be incredible for us. We also have a small problem with Jordan Teza. Of course, he is a right back, but he can play as a centre back, and potentially in the future, I might want to play him as a centre back. I mean, we do have the likes of Connor Cody, Ben Godfrey, Holgates, and so on in that position, of course, Tarkowski. But quite a few of those are actually aging out of the game, and some of them just don't really fit the mold that I'm trying to go for. And as you can see there, we've got around 50 million to spend, give or take. So money isn't the biggest issue, considering that we don't really need to sign any big time players. But at the same time, with the outgoings in this club, we're going to raise quite a bit of money. So yeah, like I say, there are a few that are going to stay. There are a few that are going to go. Shockingly enough, Tottenham come in with a big bid for Jordan Pickford, and I don't really rate Pickford that much. So when I saw that bid come in, at first I was like, no, it doesn't. I don't want that. I want to try and keep Jordan Pickford. But then I realized we can go in and probably sign a better keeper for half the money that we get from Jordan Pickford. So a keeper was definitely on the cards, but a player that I do want to bring into the club is Ramsey. Ramsey from Aston Villa, of course. You've just seen Steven Gerrard walk into the office. These are all the deals that we're planning on doing. Flecken from Freiburg, of course. He is going to be the Jordan Pickford replacement. Ramsey, I am signing him because I think the midfield depth is a bit lacking. So we've gone after Ramsey, we've gone after Mangala, of course, from Nottingham Forest. We've gone after Adam Idar, as I said, and of course Flecken is going to be the starting goalkeeper. And I really do like Flecken. I mean, he is in his prime, some might say, and he does have the abilities that I want from my goalkeeper. Of course, last season and the season before that, we played very much a possession-based game, and that included having our goalkeeper in a lot of the build-up to some of our best goals. So Flecken, with his ball-to-feet movements, he can be a great player for us going forward. I don't know about his save ability, but in saying that, I think he would be better than Jordan Pickford. I mean, good old T-Rex arms. He's off to Tottenham for a decent amount of money, like I say. But with these 4 signings, including Hans Hatzeball, which would make 5, I think they're basically the signings that we need going forward for the season. And that's why I keep implementing and keep saying we don't need to spend 100 million on a player. This team has the infrastructure there. It has the bones of a very good squad. It's just how we build around that frame. And I think adding some very meaty, good young players, such as the likes of Adam Idar, Ramsey, and so on, I think we can go a very far way into achieving what we want to achieve with Everton, which is potentially getting into the Champions League next season. That is a big goal for me, personal goal. I mean, the board just expects us to get European football, which is Europa League, I think, or even Conference League, but I want more than that. And heading into our first game, of course, is against Man City. I think last season as well, our first game of the season was against Man City, so a very tough test coming up with our first game with Everton. And we got off to an absolutely amazing start as Dominic Calvert-Lewin flicks it on for Jude Bellingham, who this season, you guys will see, is going to score a lot of goals. It is not even funny how many goals he's about to score for us. He is such a special and unique talent. But moving back into the game, though, 31 minutes in, we find ourselves 2-1 down, 2-1 in the hole at the empty hard. Of course, Tony Kroos giving Manchester City the lead. And it was not looking good, I must say. We did level it with the penalty from Dominic Calvert-Lewin before an absolute stunner from Kevin De Bruyne, and then finally Ramsey, the difference maker in this one, coming on as a substitute, fires us ahead 4-3, and then eventually kills the game with the 5th goal. What an absolute scene on opening day. What a debut for the young man to have. But we weren't done there. As City would score their 4th goal and the 9th goal of the day. A 9-goal thriller. Bernardo Silva, he tried to get the ball back to try and get the game to move on a bit faster, but we would end up winning 5-4 on the day. I was so chuffed with the boys and how we played. Not so much defensively, as I've been saying Flecken can be a bit of an improvement over the likes of Jordan Pickford, but it wasn't to be. And second game of the season, we would end up losing 3-1 to Nottingham Forest. Not great. Before moving on to the EFL Cup and beating Bristol City 3-2. I mean, steady improvement nonetheless, but at the same time, we've got a lot to do. We had made quite a few changes as well in that game, as it was the EFL Cup. And then we move on to Crystal Palace and beat them or not beat them, draw with them 1-1. Moving on though, we did get a surprise bid from Manchester City for one of our youth players in Isaac Price. I would go on to accept it because, I mean, I didn't really see him in my plans, which kind of does come back to bite me a bit because he is a really good young player to have. But nonetheless, we will move on. We'll take the money. I think it was 30 million that we'd end up getting from him. And maybe in January, depending on how we do, of course, we'll look to reinvest that large sum of money into the squad. But as you can see here are our exits and our incomings, I should say. And very happy with our business as a whole. You know, like we sold efficiently and we bought efficiently as well. Sold sufficiently and bought efficiently. But we move on though. Fulham, big time team right now. They're in 6th and we're in 11th. Played 3 games, won 1, drawn 1, lost 1. Not the best, not the greatest. And to be fair, it was a very dull game. Very few moments of joy in this game whatsoever. Fulham were just out to muddy the water, some might say. Just add a bit more scrap and bite into the game. And it did mean that our chances were kind of low. As we see here, Mangala comes on, gets played in beautifully by Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and he scrambles the ball far away from the post. And yeah, I wasn't happy with how we played. I mean, both teams late on had a moment to potentially win the game, both teams missing. And then this, I don't know how or why or who, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin finding a way to squeeze the ball between the goalkeeper and the back post somehow. And we would end up winning 1-0. And it was one of those where you're happy with the 3 points and could be better to lose it. Because I kind of feel that both Fulham and us deserved a point each. And the fact that we ended up with all 3 was just music to my ears. But we move on to Leicester City. Great first goal, not gonna lie. And then what a pass from Hans Hatterball to the back stick, standing up beautifully for the likes of McNeil. And we were literally different gravy to the likes of Leicester. Of course, Leicester in real life are not having a good time. They're actually having a very torrid time with a lot of their players just wanting out of the club. Just, you know, they're not the most happy camp at the moment. But we would end up crushing Leicester 4-0 on the day before getting knocked out by Fulham in the EFL Cup on penalties, of course, 4-3. Not the best, I gotta say that one did hurt a bit. But the world is round and our revenge will come nonetheless. We move on though to Chelsea, very big game, one of our first big games of the season. Of course, we did face City on opening day, but since then we've kind of stumbled and mumbled a bit with how we've been playing. So it's going to be a big test for us nonetheless. Kai Havertz with a great goal, kind of. Will it happen back post, really? I don't know. But point being, Kai Havertz before Ramsey equalised, and we carved Chelsea open numerous times before that piece of artwork. Fantastic ball movement. I kind of thought that the Chelsea defender would get in front of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but he just couldn't. Dominic Calvert-Lewin was fast enough to stay in front of his man before smashing it home late on in the game to win it for us a big 3 points before moving on to Brentford and beating them 3-2. We continue our momentum in London. We continue that momentum, and now we move on to Wolves. Wolves are a very good team so far in this career mode. Of course, we did see them last season in the FA Cup. So we know that they like to sit back, maintain their defensive shape, and try and press the life out of you at the same time. But in this one, I must say, it was Adam Igar who started for the first time. Of course, we had to rotate, and he was absolutely phenomenal. Great opening goal from him, and the Bellingham goal as well. It was a little flick on from him to allow the space for our winger to run onto the ball and then cross it into the likes of Jude Bellingham. So Adam Igar, I'm kind of liking more than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I know Dominic Calvert-Lewin has had a good time so far. He's scored some goals for us and everything, but Adam Igar, there's just something about him from last season's, or I should say last year's FIFA 21 when we had him in the career mode. He was just so special for us then, and he's just continued to be really good. Like, he's a really good striker in Premier mode, and I'd advise anybody who's watching this, of course, if you want a decent, cheap striker, Adam Idar is your guy. So, yeah, I don't know. He's just got such a special feeling, or I've got such a special feeling and place for him. And, yeah, but we're not going to move on. Well, we are going to move on, I should say. And we are going to move on to Blackburn Rovers. Of course, 8 minutes in, we get a great start, but that was kind of our start. It fizzled out after that. Blackburn, they did kind of play themselves back into the game, but frustration, because we should have probably done better with at least half of our first half chances. It was somewhat frustrating nonetheless, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin with a hat-trick against my former team. He netted from the spot to make it 2-0 before a great hat-trick, and it probably should have been more, like I keep saying. We had numerous chances in this game and couldn't put them away, but nonetheless, I am happy that we did end up beating Blackburn. You can hear the boos in the stadium as they are not happy that their former manager is coming and absolutely done them no favours whatsoever. And we move on to West Ham United, where this absolute screamer gets smashed in from Jacob Ramsey. Absolutely beautiful. That could be a goal of the season contender right there. West Ham were very tough to break down. They had that low block set up, and it was rough all ends up. But a bit of brilliance from Jude Bellingham to flick it up and over to the back stick for Dwight McNeil to head home. It was kind of a loopy cross, and then it was a loopy header as well, so very happy with that. We'd move on to Aston Villa, though, drawing 2-2 with them before beating Leeds United 2-1. And now, people, we move on to Manchester United. My team, of course. My team. Manchester United. When we were with Blackburn, they couldn't hold a flame to us. I mean, we went to Old Trafford, we beat them 5-0. We beat them at Ewood Park 5-1. Are we going to see a different United? Well, only this game will tell. And early on, David De Gea was making save and save and save. And as you can see, they're currently in the save so far at this moment in time. We are second in the league, only behind Manchester City. And our strange defensive setup has failed us twice over as we try and clear it off the line. And I don't know what happened, but Vinagre and Flick, and as well as Bruno Fernandes, or it could have been Ronaldo, all colliding and the ball going in for a 2-0 deficit. And we did make changes at halftime. I was absolutely needed with the boys, but United continued to create for themselves, but just our offensive fluidity was a lot more solid. And Jude Bellingham with a goal to equalise, an absolute banger and a half. David De Gea not equal to it at all. And then Jacob Ramsey gets a game later in the game, 3-2. Wow. I must say, at halftime, I did not expect us to be winning this game 3-2 by full time, but we ended up with all 3 points. Absolute scenes at Goodison Park. It's somehow always United that seem to make us look a lot better than what we actually are. And I must say, at this point in the season, Jacob Ramsey is looking like a certified starter for us for most games. So yeah, we would obviously end up drawing with Brighton after an absolute heart-stopping game at Goodison Park against Old Trafford, against Manchester United. But a bit of a dull one as we ended up drawing with Brighton. And then it was Arsenal. Moving on to Arsenal, and Jacob Ramsey yet again gets himself in the score sheet. Just positional awareness is elite. He was in the correct places at the correct times, always. And of course, Adam Idar does start in this one. And as you can see here, that goal was impressive as hell. And then the little pass to Ritsu Doan, of course, who kind of lost his place to Dwight McNeil. I'm not going to lie, Dwight McNeil has fitted the way I want to play a bit more. And there's no favoritisms in this team. If you're doing a better job than the next person, you're going to get that starting spot. And I mean, I really do like Ritsu Doan. He's one of the players that I considered when taking the Everton job. So it happens like that sometimes. You just got to take your opportunity with both hands. And also, by the way, we would end up beating Arsenal 4-1. I was absolutely elated with the series, as 4-1 is quite demoralising scoreline nonetheless. But moving on though, our first Merseyside derby, and getting it off to an absolute blinder. Jude Bellingham, the touch, the movements, just the finesse on this is incredible. Goalkeeper Allison had no chance, and that was 6 minutes in, which allowed the game to kind of be played at the pace that we wanted it to be played at, and we were quite happy to move the ball around the way we wanted to, and at our own pace, really. And can I just say that header, that diving header from Dominic Calvert-Lewin was incredible, absolutely incredible. Flicking in this first half was insane with his saves, saving everything. He could have saved the Titanic in the first half, but all it took was Ojo in the 62nd minute to damn well have the floodgates open, and it was Ojo and Jota in the second half to bring the game level at 2-2. But it did set up the scenes as always. It had to be Jude damn Bellingham. He has been insane for us in this December period, scoring goals on goals on goals, celebrates like a madman in front of the Anfield crowds on the big screens, of course. And we would end up beating Liverpool 3-2 in our first Merseyside derby, of course, an end-to-end game nonetheless. I'll take the 3 points regardless. So I was just happy that even though we had kind of faltered in the end there, we still brought it back and managed to collect all 3 points. So, yeah. And I must say, we have scheduled our season for us, really trying to screw us over in December, as how can we go from playing Arsenal, then to Liverpool at Anfield, then to Spurs? Like, that is 3 incredibly hard teams in a row, and just frustration all these up. But of course, it had to be Jude Bellingham yet again with a very filthy, cheeky little chip. And could that be a goal of the season contender? I'm not sure. We've had so many. Please do not forget at least to vote in the comment section down below what your favourite goal was, and I will be there reading it, and we'll have a chat about it in the next one. But yes, Jude Bellingham gets on the score sheet yet again. A brace for him against Spurs to collect all 3 points for Everton. And we are sailing at this table right now before getting hit in the face with a brick by Brighton, losing 3-1. Of course, we had to rotate. Our final game of the calendar year was against Manchester United. And I do need a fresh team. I do. Like, imagine not having a fresh team against the likes of Manchester United at Old Trafford. And Jude Bellingham gets on the score sheet yet again. He is scoring so many goals for us. It's unbelievable. He's having a December to remember. And yeah, basically we scored that goal, and then all hell broke loose. The teamwork and the team build-up for Sancho's goal was incredible. And then a handball late on in the game allowed for Bruno Fernandes to step up and take a penalty at Old Trafford. Sunny afternoon, final game of the season. It was all set up. It was as if it was a scripted game. And yeah, they would end up winning, of course. We would lose our final game of the year. But moving on though, these are some of our players' stats for the season. Ramsey, Bellingham and Calvert-Lewin, of course, incredible, absolutely incredible from them. And I'm just so chuffed with their output and their performance. The assists, the goals, everything, absolutely incredible. Anyway, people, that will be the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, hit the like button down below. Very excited to see how this team has played. Jude Bellingham has been absolutely phenomenal. We are currently 3rd in the Premier League, and I'm very excited to see how the second half of the season will get underway. Please hit the like button if you can. Hit the sub button if you'd like to. And I hope to see you back here for part 2.